This content is brought to you in association with my buddies over at Jam Jam Cards UK. You can find the links to the eBay store and the Facebook page in the description. Hi guys, it's Joe here from Rufioh. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome aboard. You should definitely hit subscribe and the notification bell before we go any further and you realise how fucking garbage this content is. But if this is not your first time on the channel, welcome back, you absolute fucking loser. Seriously, there's a lot better content out there to be watched, and yet you're here with me. I guess I should probably say thank you for that. Now, for today's deck profile, we are taking a look at my PK fire list. It is definitely not finished, definitely not super refined. We did take it to locals today. We finished 3 wins, loss, and a draw. We got into the top 8, and we lost there, unfortunately. And then on our Tuesday night locals, our first tournament playing this, we finished on 2-1 record. So far, the overall results are pretty good. As a note worth making, our locals is very, very competitive, very stacked, so every win really does matter. So yeah, we've had a very, very good record so far. We were playing it suboptimally on Tuesday as well, so I'm one of the people as well who has an awful lot of time to play test. I'm usually pretty busy, either making videos or working very long hours, so considering my results are decent and I'm not the best player, you could probably do a hell of a lot better than I could. Now, a lot of people are looking at like 40-ish card lists. I've decided to go for 50 something. I think it's like 56 or something like that. Because I just didn't want to take out extenders. You could cut this down and make it a bit more trim, but so far this has been nice for me. There are a handful of cards I've considered playing, a few different builds I've seen where I like cards from, but this is the one that I'm playing at the moment, and it's worked pretty well for me. Now, as a quick note before we continue, if you are looking to pick up some Yu-Gi-Oh singles, you're ready for the October format and beyond, check out the channel sponsors Jam Jam Cards UK. There is a link down in the description, and if you use the code Rufioh15, you'll get 15% off your order. Also, if you are a big fan of the channel and you're interested in getting cards signed and all that kind of thing, it costs you nothing. You can just request that. Not a problem. It will add a bit of a delay to your order because, of course, they have to come and see me and get it all signed off, but that can certainly be arranged if you ask politely. Now, anyway, enough of shilling. Let's get stuck in to the deck profile. Now, like I say, this is a nigh on 60 card list, so it will take a little bit of time to get through. We'll try not to spend too much time dwelling on too many cards unless there's something particularly weird that we use, and I'll do a brief discussion on each one, but we'll try and keep it as brief as we can. So we start off with triple copies of Torn Scales. This is obviously mandatory. It's a PK deck. You need to play it. This card's insane. It doubles up as a normal summon, a good option for a normal summon. It sets off a lot of your combo. It's just a really important part of the deck. And now obviously it's been reprinted. It's a lot easier to get hold of. We have triple copies of Silent Boots. It's Boots. It's a free special summon. It searches your things. It's pretty nice. We have double copies of Ancient Cloak. 2 is absolutely plenty. We really don't need more than that. And again, it goes into your combos. We have a single copy of Ragged Gloves and a single copy of Stained Greaves. Stained Greaves is a bit of a weird one. Sometimes I side it out, sometimes I just keep it in. It's nice when you've got no other option. If you've got a handful of like PKs and you just want to get one into the grave, you can do that, banish this, and then you can get a special summon off it, and you can go off from there. So it's nice for that. It obviously just becomes an extender if it is in your hand a lot of the time. So yeah, all really good stuff. Pretty standard Phantom Knight lineup. I don't think there's much to talk about there apart from that. Now onto our normal summons, we have triple copies of Tour Guide. I think this explains itself. Tour Guide is absolutely bonkers. And then we had a card that we started playing before we had all the extenders that we had on Tuesday, and I've just kept it in because it's actually worked quite nicely. We're running triple copies of Galaxy Worm. If you were looking to cut the fat a little bit from this deck, this would help you get there. But it's one that I've enjoyed really actually quite a bit so far. It's been quite nice. No one ever stops it either because they don't really know what it does because nobody plays this card, so there we are. Yeah, worked really nicely so far. I'm likely to keep it in for the foreseeable. Definitely try it out if you haven't in your own deck. We then have our 2 Burning Abyss monsters, just the 2. I know some people play additionals. 2 is absolutely fine. Graffin's is all you need for the main deck. Our Danger Package, Tsuchinoko and Jackalope, pretty self-explanatory. Just our 3s. Don't just play this like me, I did on Tuesday. On its own, it will just get sniped. We're running triple copies of Kagamucha, really good for a little bit of chain blocking. It's a free extender as well, so yeah, just really good stuff. Yeah, it just comes up loads. Really good in here. Running 2 copies of Junk Forward. This could easily be 3 of as well. Again, I just didn't pick up the 3rd, so I'm not playing it. It's absolutely fine as it is. We then have Psychic Wielder and Psychic Tracker. Just again, 3 bodies to get on board level 3s. If you do happen to open both, you can special summon both of them nice and easily. Just works really, really well. Of course, we don't synchro off it, so we don't gain those effects, but we also don't care. We then move on to our, I guess you'd call them hand traps, not all of them are. I definitely wouldn't call this one, but it kind of falls closely into this category. Triple copies of Phantasme. It's Phantasme, it's really, really good when it comes up. It hasn't come up enough, really. It's come up loads in what little playtesting I have done online, but in person, not so much. It's a good card on paper, especially in the current format. Likely to be cut, if anything's going to be cut from this, along with maybe the Galaxy Worm as well. But it works nicely so far. Triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I think this is like mandatory in every deck. Even decks that don't normally play hand traps, you definitely want to play these. Double copies of Effect Veiler. This is largely so that we can cross out, but it does also double up as a way to play. And this is one of the good things that cross out has given this deck, is more protection for itself, but also the fact that you can play hand traps natively without them feeling like bricks. They don't interrupt your combos, they don't get in your way of your plays. They're just a way that you can either play them to hurt your opponent or use them to protect yourself. It kind of doubles their value, I guess you'd say. A single copy of Ghost Ogre. This is essentially just for E-Telly, giving you another option. But again, it just adds as another hand trap. It's actually come up a couple of times today. Been really, really strong when it has come up. It doesn't come up enough to warrant playing multiple copies. But one is absolutely fine. We're not worried about our opponent hitting us with it. It's just it's an E-Telly target. And again, we can just hit our opponent with it ourselves. And then we round off with our Dark Magician and our Red Eyes for the Red Eyes Fusion. Obviously, we're playing Dragoon in here, because Dragoon is pretty filthy. And that concludes our monsters from the main deck. Let's move on to the spells and traps. So we have triple copies of Crossout Designator. This card is absolutely filthy. There's nothing more to really say about it. If you don't have this, this is a card that you really do want in your deck. Card is absolutely bonkers. I was playing against like a trap BA deck today, and I was banishing Sears and things like that to just negate effects. It was bonkers. Again, nobody really thinks about that. They don't prep for it, and it comes up trumps. We have triple copies of Forbidden Troplet. Shout out to Jam Cards UK for lending me the ulties today. Looking absolutely crisp. Came up a couple of times. Card is very, very strong. I don't really need to elaborate on that too much. Double copies of Emergency Teleport. It's at 2. We've got 3 targets in the deck. It's just, again, another free way of getting stuff onto the field. And then we move on to our one-ofs. We have a single copy of Reinforcements to the Army. We have a ton of Dark Warriors in here, so why wouldn't we use it? Call by the Grave. It's like a 4th copy of Crossout, but it's probably slightly better in a lot of instances, but that's another discussion. And then finally, our Red Eyes Fusion, of course, for our package. Luckily, we haven't opened this too much. We've only opened it on like 1 game, so it's not been too bad. It's been absolutely fine so far. And then onto our trap lineup, we are running triple copies of Infinite Impermanence. This is one that I was very, very reluctant to actually try out at first. I was kind of worried about it conflicting too much with Shade Brigandine. But honestly, I felt like it's way too powerful not to include. Not only is it a good hand trap for you, not only is it good going first, it's good going second, but also, again, it helps protect your boards, because with Crossout, we have another target that normally lands on our Rusty and makes our lives an absolute misery. So, really recommend playing it if you've got them. And again, we've got the reprint coming up, so that'll make it even nicer. We then have triple copies of Fogblade and a single copy of Shade Brigandine. So, the triple Fogblade, pretty standard. Single Shade Brigandine, absolutely standard as well. You need this for your combo. You need this for sort of protection and things afterwards. Some people have played some of the other Phantom Knight cards. I'm tempted to try out one of them. I can't remember which one it is, but it boosts your monster's attack. It's a little bit like a pseudo Fogblade, I guess you'd say. I can't remember which one it's called, but that's one that I would possibly consider. I know one of the other guys on the team is playing it, but so far this is the 4 that I'm running, and this has been absolutely fantastic so far. No rank up in here. I haven't felt the need to play it. This has been great as it is. We then move on to the extra deck. So we have 2 copies of Phantom Knights of Breaksword. You need it for your combo, but also it can come up a lot in games. There's been weird decks I've played against where, for example, they're playing like stuff like Torrential Tribute, and instead of going through all your Cherubini plays, if you know that they're playing stuff like that, you just make this, because then they get punished if they actually flip it, and it puts them in a really difficult position. We play a single copy of Levier. This comes up occasionally. It's not come up loads for me. There's once or twice where I thought maybe I'll summon it and go off from there, but it's been more beneficial to take other options instead. But on paper, very good option. A single copy of Downward Magician. That just makes Zeus. Evil Swarm Nightmare. This is a bit of a flex spot. It's kind of any rank 4 that's dark that you want to make. Again, the other guy on my team is playing Time Thief Rufioh. He prefers that. I've been trying this out and liked it quite a bit, actually. It can end turns on its own. And the fact that it's not once per turn is really, really nice as well. And then finally, we have Zeus. Zeus is Zeus. I don't really need to elaborate on that too much. And again, it's much more affordable for those of you who are considering picking the deck up. We have a single copy of Dragoon. It's Dragoon. There's some formats where I really don't feel like this card's worth playing, but there's some decks that really benefit from it. And the fact that we're playing so many cards in the deck means that we are less likely to see the garnets that come with it. At least on paper. That's not how it really works, to be honest with you. But that's besides the point. But I'm making this pretty much every single game. There's a lot of the time where I can get nibbed. They think they've ended my turn. I've got 2 cards in hand. It's enough for me to go Link Spider, summon another body, and make Dragoon. So, there you go. Works quite nicely. Then on to our links to round off our extra deck. We have a single copy of Link Spider. It's there for getting rid of like nib tokens and stuff like that. We have Cherubini, really important part of the combo, so you need to play it. A single copy of Vert Anaconda. If you're playing the Goon package, you definitely want to play this. Single copy of Nightmare Phoenix. A single copy of Unicorn. Both just utility cards. Again, would highly recommend playing them. A single copy of Phantom Knight's Rusty Bardiche. This is all you need. You really don't need more than this. Again, if you feel like you can put the extras in, that's fine. But it really doesn't come up enough beyond your turn 1 to be that relevant. Of course, you can keep looping it back, so it's not really the end of the world. And then our 2 Link 4s, we have Appaloosa, Bow the Goddess, and Access Code Talker. Unfortunately, didn't get the reprint that everyone had hoped, but that's not a problem for myself, obviously. So, we're happy. Anyway, Access Code Talker, Modern Dad, we already know what that is. That just kills cards and breaks boards and wins games. And then Appaloosa is great. It's going to be one of your most common go-tos on your turn 1 play. Usually this, along with Rusty, a Fogblade if you can get to it as well, and Goons is going to be your standard kind of board. And then onto the side decks, we have a single copy of Pancratops. Pancratops goes in like first card that goes into my side deck every single format. I think it's mandatory just for decks that need go in second power. You absolutely need to play it. We're playing 2 copies of Nibiru, 2 partially because of space requirements, partially because a lot of the time we only really want it for cross-out targets. But the decks that we're good against, going second against, we can often break their boards without the need for it, but it does come in handy. But it's not like a mandatory card in your hand that you need for your plays. 2 copies of Artifact Lancia. Again, the same sort of reason with Nibiru. There's some decks it's very strong against, but mostly you want it there as a cross-out target. It just happens to double up as a powerful card. Triple copies of Droll and Lockbird. There's some decks that this just absolutely shuts down. There's other times where it does absolutely nothing. So for the decks that you need it for, you absolutely need to see it. It needs to be in your hand. It needs to be available to you, so you want to play it. But again, it doesn't get sided in that much, but when it does, it's insane. We have double copies of Twin Twisters, just back row hate. Back row decks can be a real fucking pain in the arse. Mirror Match, it's good. Tri-Brigade, it's good against forcing out the Revolt. People play stuff like Paleo at my locals, so we have to think about things like that as well. Just deals with all of those and any kind of like weird back row decks. And then a single copy of Harpy's Feather Duster, pretty much the same thing. We then have a single copy of Red Reboot, again, back row deck hate, just fuck back row decks. Solemn Strike. And Solemn Strike, 2 copies of those. Solemn Strike, absolutely insane. It's probably one of the first things that I side in if I can guarantee him going first, but it's not strong enough to warrant being in the main because it doesn't help us set up our combos and things like that. And all the other cards just have far more utility. Again, if you wanted to, you could probably try and find the space in the main, but I can't justify it. And then finally, we have the absolutely ridiculous Imperial Order. The fact that this card is still in the game is just absolutely absurd. Konami really should just deal with this and just ban it altogether. But there you go. Again, self-explanatory. You play all your turn, you set Imperial Order, and then you win. And that is it for the side deck as well, and that is it for the entire profile. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this, found this informative, or at least got some ideas for your own decks if you're looking to play them. Cards maybe you shouldn't play, cards maybe you want to play, maybe cards you haven't thought about trying out. This might give you some ideas. If there's recommendations you have, apart from stating the obvious, please leave them down in the comments. I'm more than open to hear some ideas of what cards you are playing yourselves, what cards you've considered trying out, what cards have worked well for you, and what your thoughts are on like list of this size, all that kind of stuff. I'd be interested to hear it all. Thank you for making it this far into the video. You're one of the few who does. If you've definitely made it this far, that's an absolute blessing. If you haven't already, hopefully that means you have hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.